Okay, everybody is maybe seated, so we can start. Our next presenter is Giacomo Paesani. Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. I'm going to talk about Steiner trees for hereditary graph classes. So this is joint work with my supervisors at Durham University, Nick Brettell at Victoria University of Wellington, and these two professors, Bodlaender and Erik van Leeuwen at Utrecht. So Steiner tree is a problem that originates from a very intuitive question in the physical world. So we are given a set U of endpoints in the plane, and we ask ourselves if to find a system of line segments such that the union of these line segments form a connected set containing U. And moreover, we want to minimize the total length of these segments. This problem originates from Jargon in 1911. For example, we are given 5 points here, and of course, there are multiple ways to connect them. And we ask ourselves how efficiently this can be done. This problem is NP-hard by Gergely, and it's still hard when we restrict the set of terminal vertices on 2 parallel lines. And of course, we don't know if these problems belongs to the NP class. However, there is a polynomial time approximation scheme that provides solutions that are a factor of 1 plus epsilon from the optimum. If you're interested in this problem, you can check this software to check graphical solutions for very large inputs. However, we want to focus our research on the discrete setting that is given by finite graphs. So a graph is here the usual definition, so without multiple edges, without loops, without anything strange. Of course, a tree is a cyclic graph, a cyclic connected graph. And the KDE definition is this one. A Steiner tree for a vertex set U is a tree in the graph that contains U. And now we can define the relative decision problem. We are given a connected graph G, a weighting function W, a subset of vertices U, and an integer K. And we ask if there is a Steiner tree T for U such that T has weight no more than K. You can easily check that this problem is a generalization of a spanning tree. We differentiated this problem into 2 variants, namely edge Steiner tree and vertex Steiner tree, whether we give a weighting function for the edges or for the vertices. However, we will not give both at the same time. These problems are NP complete, and also for the unweighted versions. So also when the weighting function is a constant by carb. Since these problems are computationally hard, we want to understand the graph properties that force intractability or a low polynomial time solvability. And to do so, we look for the hereditary graph classes, and in particular, we look for HP graphs or H1, H2 graphs. So we forbid either 1 or 2 graphs, and we see what happens. So here's the definition of H3, usual definition. So to note that a graph G is H3 if there is no induced subgraph isomorphic to H. Here's some small notation to introduce our results. So K13 denotes the claw. Then we have the click. P6 denote the path on 6 vertices here, and then we define this joint union operation and so we can create graphs like that. So here already we are at the Steiner tree result. So we have two graphs H1, H2, and we discovered that Steiner tree is polynomial and solvable for H1, H2 free graphs if one of these cases happens. So if H1 is a very small clique, or H1 is a K3 and H2 is the claw, or when H1 is a very large clique and H2 is either a P3 or an independent set of size S for any S. Otherwise, this problem is NP complete. Now we will see that this theorem has strong connection with graph classes of bounded Treewidth, and we will explain more in details what I'm going to talk about. So a tree decomposition of a graph is a tree whose vertices are called nodes and are subsets of the vertex set of the graph with the following properties. So for every vertex V, the nodes that contain the nodes of the tree that contains V induce a non-empty connected subgraph, and moreover, for every edge of the graph, both endpoints are connected. There is a bag that contains both endpoints. The width of a tree decomposition is one less the size of a largest node, and the tree width of a graph is the minimum width among these tree decompositions. So as trees with at least one edge form exactly the class of graphs with tree width 1. The tree width can be seen as a measure that indicates how close a graph is to be a tree. So here, for example, here we have the cycle on length 5, and on the right side we have a tree decomposition of width 2. You can easily check that it respects the definition. Width parameters are important because when you consider a graph class that has bounded width, many problems becomes easy to solve. And this is the case for a Steiner tree. This is a result from mixed result from Bodlaender and Chimay, and so it says that a Steiner tree is polynomial and solvable on every graph class of bounded tree width. And we discovered that the class of H1, H2 phi graphs that has bounded tree width are exactly those that we cited already for the complexity result of vertex Steiner tree. So this dichotomy, since involves exactly the same cases, established this strong connection with the Steiner tree. More in general, this is a result from Bailosin and Rasgon earlier this year, and it says that a Steiner tree is polynomial and solvable or on a finitely defined hereditary graph class G, if and only if G has bounded tree width. So we already had this result for when we forbid two graphs, and they proved that it holds for when we forbid a finite number of them. However, we proved that there is a hereditary graph class G that that can be characterized by an infinite family of graphs, but of unbounded tree width, for which this problem is easy to solve. If we restrict this result to only HV graphs, we only have two trivial results. So when we forbid P1 or P2. This will be in contrast with the result for vertex Steiner tree that we will see later. Now we want to indeed switch to our focus to the vertex Steiner tree results, and to do so, we want to speak a little about the line graphs. Given a graph G, the line graph L of G is the graph that has the SE as vertex set, and has two vertices, and two vertices of LG are adjacent, if and only if the corresponding edges in G sharing endpoint. So here we have the diamond, and the right side we have the line graph. Of course, a graph G is a line graph if there exists another graph F such that G is L of F. One of the lemma that we use to produce our result is the following. Unweighted vertex Steiner tree is NP complete for line graphs. We reduce this problem for unweighted edge Steiner tree, which indeed is NP complete. So from G, we construct a graph G prime, introducing a new vertex for every terminal, for every element of U. Yes, and then that is adjacent to only U, and then we consider the line graph L of G prime. While we're doing these steps, we also update accordingly the set of terminals. So to explain what I'm talking about, let's see a drawing. So we start with this diamond, and we have the Steiner tree here in red. In the same way, we construct G prime. So we add these two new black vertices that creates the new set of terminals, and we can trivially construct the corresponding Steiner tree. We construct L of G prime, and we have the same correspondence of Steiner trees. In this way, we do the reduction. So vertex Steiner tree this is the general result that we obtained. So for every S at least 0, vertex Steiner tree is polynomial time solvable for H graphs if H is an inductive graph of SP1 plus P4. Otherwise, even now unweighted vertex Steiner tree is NP complete. So if we forbid that this kind of graphs, the problem is easy, and otherwise it's hard to compute. Here in the bottom, you can see the running time of the algorithm when H is SP1 plus P4. Yes. So consequences of this result. There's no clear correspondence between vertex Steiner tree and graph classes of bounded Treewidth, as opposed to the edge weighting version. In particular, there exists graph classes of unbounded Treewidth, like P4 and 3P1 graphs, for which vertex Steiner tree is polynomial time solvable. In contrast to edge Steiner tree, where when restricted to HV graphs, we had only two trivial graphs H where the problem was easy. Now we have an infinite family of graph classes for which the problem is hard. ACC, sorry. This dichotomy also can be referred to the unweighted versions of both problems on HV graphs. So in this paper, we obtained complete classification for the computational complexity of H Steiner tree when restricted to H1, H2 phi graphs. And we established a strong connection between H Steiner tree and graph classes of bounded Treewidth. Finally, we obtained a complete classification for the computational complexity of vertex Steiner tree when restricted to HV graphs. So what are the next steps in our research? First thing, we want to understand if there is any pair H1, H2 of graphs, such that vertex Steiner tree and unweighted vertex Steiner tree have different complexities already. So for this question, for the edge version, it's already a yes. While here is yet to be established. And to grow our understanding of the problem of vertex Steiner tree problem, we need to go to the next level, so we forbid two graphs, and the next step would be to forbid that law and a long path. And yes, that was everything that I have to say, and thank you very much for listening.